So you know how like it's like really cold outside. You know, it was like the funniest thing that I saw is that there was like pet tracks like of some like giant canine that just like went through the front of my lawn. Oh hey, I didn't realize the red light was off. Hey guys, hello, welcome to
Hello,
Night Court Narrative. I'm Aqua.
I'm Elvish. It is snowing outside and it is cold as balls.
It is very cold, and also it's no longer December anymore.
It's not. We are, which I don't understand that. We are 1 week away from February and somehow we always end up getting our snow in February. I don't understand that. Like during December, it's like 80, 90 degrees here, but then
And then
February, it's
January,
like,
February is like super cold.
take the snow. You've never had snow a day in your life, Texas, but take the snow. I don't understand.
I don't know. I made some really nice snowballs
Ugh.
and then chunked it at like into the street.
Well, I am hoping that we are closed again tomorrow because I am not willing to get stuck at work while it snows.
Well, unfortunate for me, I still gotta wake up early to go to work. Yeah, healthcare system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of healthcare system, I think I might need a little bit of healthcare myself, given that this book that we are reviewing right now, um, was quite lacking, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Today we're talking about Daydream by Hannah Grace, the third book of the Maple Hill series.
And, if you know anything about us, you obviously know that the Maple Hills series is easily one of our favorite series to
Mm-hmm.
read, and this book just was not it.
I will say, in its defense, it almost makes sense given the nature of the characters. So I understand its pace, but it is not a pace that I enjoyed. I mean,
Well, and that's the
uh,
thing, though. It's not necessarily the pacing that does it for me in this book because, like you
yeah.
said, I understand Henry suffers from, which I'll get into this later, but Henry is supposedly suffering from ADHD. So he is a little bit more scatterbrained, not necessarily all there, if that makes sense, which, same. But
Same. Yeah.
I feel like the slowness of the book was very appropriate, seeing how, you know, ADHD doesn't really allow you to stay on one thing. You're constantly bouncing around. Your brain is constantly fuzzy because you're doing 20,000 things while thinking of another 1,000 things. And I get that and I respect that, but there was
Yeah.
just zero plot.
I mean, there was plot, but it was more filler than plot. It was
Well,
almost
and
like a whole
dang,
season of Dragon Ball Z, but with extra filler.
and you know what? Let me actually. I'm so happy that you said that because I have my notes in front of me. Literally, my notes. And I'm going to read my notes word for word. I feel as if
Mhm.
this book was 70% filler with only 30% plot. It's pretty hard to not DNF, but it's not bad enough to DNF.
Yeah, pretty much.
I agreed. It was literally like watching the original series of Bleach. You never know where the actual story is and where the filler is. And this book was
Things just
just all
happen.
filler.
Yeah, things just happen, and you figure it out within 5 minutes after a lot of self-talking in someone's mind, and then minimal talking to other people, which is fine. I get it. It's always about the person's mindset. It's kind of what this book was more focused on. It's focused on mindset, dealing with certain things. There's a theme to it, and it's fine. I respect it. It's all about neurodivergent people, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's
Right.
just lacking of plot. Honestly, I could probably give the actual plot, and the plot is basically two people who, suffer a few, mental things. One person more of like coming in from like a bad relationship, and the other, having some actual, having now I'm having
Found it out. Found it out.
neurodivergence. All right, and basically they meet and turns out they're a good fit for each other, and dealing with the fallout of someone being a huge people pleaser and someone who's willing to basically stand up for themselves, and basically teaching the other person how to kind of live in their, what people would say, their flaws, and
Right.
making the best out of it. And in the end, it all works out. That is pretty much the plot.
That's it. Now
Yeah,
the thing
I mean,
is,
we can give you the characters, but it doesn't matter because that's the entire book.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I really do appreciate. So it's really difficult because in this book, she does a really good job with one of the characters, and I feel like she lacked with the other main character. So like with Hallie, she did a really good job portraying anxiety.
Hmm.
Just the way that it eats away at your mind, the way that your body reacts to it, the way that your mind reacts to it. I think she did a really good job at portraying anxiety and the representation behind that. However, um, I do feel like she missed the mark on the ADHD. Um, I felt like she was milking it too much to the point where it didn't even seem real. To the point where, and I'm not obviously ever saying this in a bad way, but it felt more like Henry had autism rather than ADHD. Halfway through the book, the way that she described things, the way that he acted, it wasn't giving ADHD, but it was giving more on the spectrum. And both of which are okay. I just kind of feel like if she was trying to represent one of the neurodivergent, I guess, mentality, whatever, she should have stuck with it rather than constantly changing the vibe. And I think that's the thing that kind of just didn't sit well with me in this book, personally.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to tell which was which on the occasion, and half the time, like, it was the only reason I was able to tell who was talking was just by the voice, by the because I listen to the
Right.
books. Usually, Elvish is more the reader type. I'm more the listen type, but we both listen. But I am practically 90% listening,
Which
and
lately I'm 90% listen and
yeah,
10% ebook because of my new job. So,
your job, yeah,
yeah.
understandable. But like, and honestly, I'm pretty sure if I were to read it, but page by page, I'm pretty sure at some point I'm probably would have blended in Henry with a completely different character at some of the points.
No, of course.
Not trying to rag on it. It's just either it's a very specific neurodivergence that is just something that is just not really known too well, and that just could be about an art part, or there is a mix up on which one is exactly Henry,
Right.
because it was difficult. I mean,
And I
but
mean, that's the
other
thing
than
though.
that, yeah,
That's kind of like what I was saying though. If you ever do end up rereading it, ignore the fact that the author is saying that it's ADHD. If you go with the mindset that Henry is on the spectrum, it makes way more sense with how he responds to people, how his body language comes off, how he shuts down, how he focuses on certain individual things. It just makes way more sense. Like, I personally didn't get the ADHD thing. And this was the book that I was most excited for because of that representation, but it didn't do it. It just didn't.
and I missed the mark.
It did, because it didn't necessarily show the accuracy behind it. It was like, it's as if she put every neurodivergent person together in a box and just kept drawing at random times rather than sticking with just ADHD.
Yeah.
So that was
Honestly, I couldn't say it any different. I mean, if I were to pick two things that would make it seem like it, maybe like it's more like the being on the spectrum sprinkled with ADHD,
right,
like sprinkles on an ice cream cone.
like small sprinkles.
Yeah,
But then it
like lunch lady
also,
portions.
LOL. But then it also kind of upset me because the thing with the Maple Hills series, God, now I have to start sounding shit out. The thing with the Maple Hills series is that, like, it doesn't matter how many characters are introduced in a book, they each have their own distinct personalities, their way of speaking, XYZ. So it doesn't matter at what point in the book they come in, you can distinctly tell who is who. That was not the case with this book. They each had the same description of being so overly stressed. And anytime anyone talked, it was about how stressed they were and how too much was going on. So, towards the middle or end, whichever you prefer, all of the side characters just bled into one character, and it made it very impossible to keep up with it. So in my personal opinion, technically there were only 4 characters because
Yeah, basically it was
oh my
just
god, I died.
Henry, Haley, Will, and Haley's
Rory.
parent.
Oh,
Rory,
and the mom. Yeah, and the mom.
Yeah, and the mom. And
Other
was
than
it.
that,
And
I mean, yeah, because you had the hockey team and you had Stassi and then you had Nate.
Nate.
They were all the same character, and that's like 20 different characters. And then I think you had Will's parents that led into the other characters, and it was very. You also had Hallie's coworker, I think, but she bled into Rory. So it's just like
Yeah, I thought it was Rory this entire time, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
I thought it was Rory.
so
it didn't dawn on me until halfway through the book it was someone different.
Right, because and then it got really confusing like halfway through it because it was Hallie, Rory, and whatever her name was. I can't even tell you her name.
Remember.
And it's to the point where I don't even want to grab the book and flip through it. Like I can't even tell you her name.
Don't get me wrong. We love the Maple Hill series. This one just kind of missed the mark a bit.
Right. The one thing I do think that she did very well on is the overstimulation. That is very accurate. Yeah. She did that very, very, very well because whenever you get overstimulated, your mind shuts down, your body shuts down, you go into like a fit of rage, but then at the same time you just shut everything and everyone out, and I understand that. So I think she did that one pretty well. But the thing that kind of upsets me a little bit is every single Maple Hills book so far has ideally had the same underlying message, which is basically, I've never done anything like this before. I don't do labels. And it's so very repetitive because in the first book, you had Nathan, he did that. Second book, it was Rory, she did that. Third book, it's Henry, he did that. So it's just like, I understand.
But it's also Henry and Haley, because both of them were on the boat that time. Yeah.
And
so it's more like a double down if you think about it.
Right. But it's the exact same thing every single book. And I understand that every book, the author is attempting to put a little bit of like mental disorder in there. Like the first one was an eating disorder. The second one was family abuse anxiety. This one is ADHD anxiety. I get that, but the book is just so repetitive at this point, and it's kind of, in a way, ruining the series because I feel like no newness is getting put into the book, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Which, honestly, I probably could have had someone just tell me about the plot of the book, and I would have been fine.
Right.
Like, if they just told me, it's like, these two people, they make each other better because if one person has this, the other person has that. They learn that both work very well, and one teaches the other how to deal with their issue, and same thing with the other is tentative to their issue, and boom, Daydream.
Well, and then that's the thing too. Like, I understand. I understand. I get it. Like Henry has his. So okay, again, I think Henry's on the spectrum personally. In the book, it says specifically only ADHD, so we're just gonna go with that. If Henry only has ADHD, he takes so much advantage of Hallie the entire book. There is so much that Hallie does for him, and he doesn't even bat an eye. I mean, eventually he's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I am taking slight advantage, but he never, like, besides drawing, he never bats an eye and actually goes out of his way to do something for her. And I think that kind of bothered me a little bit as well. Like, she gave 110% the entire relationship, even before it was a relationship. And I feel like Henry only gave like 10% the entire time until the end.
Yeah.
Till the end. The end, he gave at least like 75-80%, but he just did not match her energy the entire time, and I felt like it was just a wasted relationship.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad everything worked out, and I think even like part of it might have been on Haley's fault because she did want it a certain way, but at the same time, there were instances where she was like, "I wish he did a little bit more."
Well, she kept
And
telling him the entire time, like, I wish you would do more, but at the same time, she kind of just
exactly,
gave up, and he just ignored it. It just went through one ear and out the other, and it just
yeah,
fell on deaf
he just let it
ears.
happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, he just let it happen. I may be past it, but I would have been a little bit more proactive.
I
At least a little more
do.
probing. More
Right.
probing would have at least been something of an effort. Because there's one thing not doing anything, and the other is putting a bit of effort. And I get like they're probably using, the fact of needing to shut down, and I get that.
Right.
But there were some instances where that wasn't exactly the case in that scenario, and so it's like, okay, I can see where where this is going. I can see this like, at least shoot a text, buddy,
Right.
something.
And I
Little probing.
think the only other thing that I'm going to bring up that kind of didn't sit well with me personally, there was a part
Mhm.
in the middle of the book where Henry started talking, and he was talking about his moms. We got a pretty decent amount of like LGBTQ plus. However, he did throw in some like racial stuff in there, talking about just struggles in certain communities, and I understand that. But however, my point, like, surrounding this, I feel like it was such a minimal addition to the book that, like, it did absolutely nothing. I feel like it was put in there for like clout or for wokeness rather than actually speaking on a topic to raise awareness about it. So I kind of feel like the author just kind of like threw in a racial topic for clout, and I don't know, that one kind of just didn't sit well with me either.
Yeah.
I would have.
Honestly, there was a lot of the parts where it kind of droned for me, to where I paid them maybe like partial attention, came back to it, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I probably missed that part. Not trying to say anything bad about that sort of community. That's fine. Everyone has the right to be happy. I don't care as long as it doesn't bother me, don't bother you. I don't care. That's just my personal thing. Whatever you do, you boo boo. But but I did hear some parts that maybe it's just me droning out of it, but it did feel like it's just there, and it just felt
Yeah.
like the bandwagon thing. It'd be different if like two people like really just
Exactly.
vibe, if it showed the like a real vibe between two people or something like a struggle. I get that. Of course, it's going to be the usual
Exactly.
struggle. They don't like the closeted person, the person closeted, they're afraid, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. And I get that. That's usually most people's scenario, but if a lot of that's not always the case. Sometimes there are special cases. Sometimes it's maybe an overreaction, or overthinking, if that makes sense.
No, I
Haley did it a
completely
lot,
agree.
and that would be perfectly fine as a representation for that community as well, as just like a point of reference or like an option. But I think it's a lot of books that we've read just some very like it's just included in there, just to be there as a hey look, I'm a partner, cha-ching.
Right, exactly. And I completely agree to that. Like, there are a lot of books nowadays, and I don't necessarily want to rope her into this, nor am I like saying this is what she's doing. But there have been so many authors lately that just jump on, like you said, the bandwagon, and they either start talking about racial events or certain communities but they don't actually shed light on anything, and they don't actually share like factual information or anything that can shed light on something or that can
Hmm.
encourage or um teach
Or show a
someone
different
something.
perspective.
Right.
Yeah,
They
show
just kind
perspective.
of, they kind of just throw it in there to be like, hey, look, I'm woke. I mentioned you. I mentioned your community. Please buy my book. And I don't think that that should be the case hardly ever. And again, I'm not saying that that's what she did, but that's what this book felt like. And I feel like that's very cheap. I feel like that's a very,
Yeah.
very cheap move.
Yeah, I don't think that was, Hannah's like um intentions, but it just seemed out that way.
Right. And that's the thing
Yeah.
too. That's what I was actually telling Explicit the other day. This book, and like, I really love her writing style. I love her books as a whole and everything like that. But this entire book did not feel like her. It wasn't until the final 7 chapters, and like that's so specific, but like literally the last 7 chapters felt like a Maple Hills book, and I was able to like eat up the last 7 chapters like it was nothing. And with that being said too,
Ooh. Is it bad that for me then it felt that way to the last 2 chapters?
oh, so yeah, no, I agree though. But that's the thing though, like, um, weird thing about me this month, I this month I have slash had a goal where I want to read 25 to 30 books this month because I want to get I want to read over 80 books this year. I want to challenge myself and read more books. With all of that being
Mm.
said, recently, if they're small books, I can read 2 books in one day. I'll like do 1 ebook and 1 audiobook, or I'll do 2 ebooks or 2 audiobooks. Whatever the case, I will read 2 books. Daydream took me 2.5 days to read it. That says something.
Yeah. Typically, for the most part, we're kind of like binge readers. And
Yeah.
then we become hardcore binge readers. Once it's like, really, really good, then we become hardcore binge. Did I say binge eaters? Binge readers.
No, you
I
said
did say binge
readers.
readers. Okay. I think maybe because I'm just hungry. That's the way I'm thinking of it. I am so hungry. But anyways, but yeah, we become pretty hardcore binge readers slash listeners, and this one I had to force myself to binge it only because I got a late start.
Right.
I just started the book yesterday, and so I pretty much like binge read the crud out of it, and it was. I'm not saying that's terrible. It was just it didn't catch me like the other two, and it was kind of a struggle,
It was.
unfortunately. I mean, I love Hannah Grace and everything, I love the books. It's just this one was unfortunately just not the best work.
And if there is a 4th one, okay, this is gonna break my heart to say. I think the book series, seeing how book 3 went, the book series should have ended at book 2. However, if there is a 4th book, I will obviously buy it and I will give it a chance because hopefully she redeems herself. But as it stands right now, I don't think the Maple Hill series should continue because it sounds like she's running out of ideas and she's just recycling words, plots, ideas, everything from the other 2 books, and I would prefer to salvage the series and just leave it be rather than prolong it and ruin it in the long run.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to say that, but I'm gonna keep hopes for the 4th book. Because
Yeah.
I think it'll be okay. I
I
think
don't even know who
everyone
the
gets
4th book would be about.
Who knows? It could be some new characters. Maybe it's someone in a completely different area that's from the Maple Hills and it's an extension. Maybe, who knows?
So fucking help me God if the 4th book is about Will and we just like kind of, but it's Maple Hills, so it has to be in the whatever.
I don't know. I'm just trying here. I'm just trying.
I think my rating, I'm gonna be real with you, I think my rating came, I think I rated it this way because I am a massive fan of the other two books and I really like her as an author. I personally gave it a 3-star. I think the beginning of the book was good, and I think the last few chapters was good. The whole middle, none of it was relevant. You could easily just skip the entire book. Just know that Henry met a girl named Hallie. They talked. They fell in love. The end. So I gave it a 3-star.
Pretty much the same, 3-star.
If
It's
the other
like
two,
a soft 3, if that makes sense. A soft 3.
right? Because if the other two weren't as good as they were, a 2.
Yeah.
Like, there's no 2.5 at this point. It's either a 3 because we're being nice, or a 2 if we're being honest. So I want to give her the benefit of the doubt and say 3. Will I most likely reread this specific book? Probably not.
Yeah. Unless there's like something that makes me need to reread it.
Yeah.
But other than that, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but I'm gonna have hopes for the 4th one, no matter what.
Well, I mean, yeah, I have hopes for the 4th one. I don't even know who it would be about. You know what would actually be kind of cool? If we got a book about the coach.
Ooh, that would be a good idea.
That would actually be kind of cool. Kind of hear how his life is going, kind of hear how he interacts. Like, because we don't actually have much information about the coach, so it would be nice to like dive deep in like his brain and see like how he feels about everything. And yeah.
Or better yet, maybe it's a prequel. It talks about his accident.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I would love that.
Actually, yeah, I would love that too. That'd be a good idea. Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Other than that, yeah, you heard it here first. Hint, hint. Like, Hannah Grace, listen to this, and
I know.
we love you. Okay, we love you. We do.
If you ever do watch this, obviously speaking to the author, if you ever do watch this, we do love you. Your other books are fantastic. I'm so sorry. We never want to be harsh, but it's because we are such avid fans of yours. I feel like it's easier to be a little bit more critical about it, because that's how it's easier to get critical information and like critique from your fans rather than people that don't know your stuff, because then it's just words on blind ears.
At least it's coming from a place of love.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, that's all I got. I mean, there really wasn't
that's it.
much to it.
Yeah, there's really not much to talk about, unfortunately. So, to be honest, I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, it's a little shorter video, but hey, we're keeping it consistent, y'all.
Yeah. Well, we will. Next week is the first week of February. We are starting all of our love books.
Mm-hmm.
So,
get ready for the romance.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Violence. We're gonna go on 7th Street.
Yeah, that's Violet, by the way.
Yep.
Do not eat yellow snow unless you want to. I'm not your mom.
Yeah.
I don't judge. I mean, I might look at you weird, but I don't judge. So do what you want.
It'll be fine.
Okay,
Just
bye.
beware. Goodbye.